Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lock Shop. Chiefs and Chargers, very excited. Nielsen and Huss back with you once again, presented to you, as always, by our friends at Coolbet. Watch for our Lock Shop play of the day coming up over on their social media accounts a little bit later on here after we bang out our Thursday night football episode. Huss, very excited, very excited to bet this game, but extremely excited to catch this game. Problem is, I'm flying during the first half. So by the time I land, I'm only going to be able to catch the second half. It was horrible planning on this trip to Regina today, and I'm very disappointed in myself.
Hey, by the time you get off the plane, we might have already hit the over. We'll see. I think that there's going to be, I think this could be one of the great games, certainly of the week, and who knows. But, I mean, when these two teams play, there is fireworks. And speaking of fireworks, and we'll get to this, put together a very juicy combo parlay for tonight. This
is quite something.
Guys have done a little number on over at the Coolbet exclusives, but we'll get to that. This is an unbelievable matchup. I mean, the second the schedule came out, I was looking forward to seeing when the Chiefs and Chargers played. And the fact that this is Thursday night football, the Chiefs home opener at Arrowhead, where Justin Herbert has had some success in the past, and no one else can say that. It is such a juicy matchup, game of the week as far as I'm concerned, and 7:20 p.m. tonight cannot come soon enough.
Yes, very exciting. We'll get to that fireworks exclusive as we work our way through the episode today. If you're watching on the live stream, hey, quick reminder, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Just search The Lock Shop and you will be able to find us. And make sure you give us a sub, all right? Also, hop on Twitter. We're closing in on 1,000 Twitter followers. We're like 967 or something. So go over there at Lock Shop Bets on Twitter and give us a follow. You see a bunch of our content popping up over there. Just recapping last Thursday, we were on the same total. We were on the same spread. So we're 1-0. Each of us are 1-0 against the spread. We're 1-0 against the total. Try to keep that rolling today. We're going to be on the same side of this thing as far as the spread goes, but we are going to go head-to-head on this 4 points, Huss.
Yeah, listen, I think everyone, the least suspense of the Lock Shop in a long time as to which side I was going to be on tonight. Listen, this is a good line. This opened up at 3.5, and I think the steam that the Chiefs have coming out of that game with Mahomes going 5 touchdowns, no picks against Arizona has maybe put a little bit more public backing on it. But I do think that there'll be a lot of people on the Chargers side as well. And listen, for good reason. This team is now healthy. Their defense is together. Many of the times, like when the Chargers have sort of fallen apart later on in the season, like Derwin James has been out. Now they are dealing with no Keenan Allen, but there's a key injury on the Chiefs side of things with Trent McDuffie, the new rookie cornerback, having a hamstring out for the next little bit. So, I mean, I think you can sort of see that both teams nicked up a little bit coming on the short week into tonight. But to me, this game is going to come down to quarterback play and probably a big play either on defense or special teams that could very well be the difference. Listen, if this game ended up being a field goal game one way or the other, I could totally see it happen, but I was going to back my guy Mahomes on the number almost no matter what it is. But I do like the fact that, it stayed in that 3.5 to 4 range. I will say this. I bet this, you can bet it right now. If you would like to get back to that 3.5 number at -120 for the Chiefs, it's -104 on either side right now, which is still a relatively good number considering normally it's -110 on either side. So I do think there's value if you do think that, and to be honest, I do. I kind of like the 3.5 more than the 4. But when it all comes down to it, I think we're going to see some offense. I think we're going to see a lot of points, and I think we are going to be treated to one hell of a football game. But I said it at the start of the year. I was on Mahomes for MVP. I think that he's going to be making a statement every time he comes out. First time really in his career that I think he heard a lot of criticism, a lot of questioning of him. And I heard Andy Reid speak about it this week. And Mahomes was hearing it. He had an incredible offseason. We saw what he did in week 1. And I guarantee you he'll be incredibly ready and motivated for this game tonight to get one back on Justin Herbert, who, as we mentioned, is the one guy that actually has a big win in Arrowhead Stadium against him. Mahomes has never lost on the road in the division. We're now 5 years into his career. It's maybe the craziest stat around. But they need to reestablish home field, establish themselves as the number one team in the league. And much like we were talking about the Viking-Packer game last week in week 1, this is a massive game because I think when you look at this division, the toughest division in football, many people, myself included, think that it will come down to the Chiefs and Chargers. And if you lose that head-to-head game at home, you are in a real uphill battle because you won't have in all likelihood, you won't have the tiebreaker even if you win on the other side of things. So Chiefs are going to be ready for this one tonight. It should be a hell of a game. I'm backing the home team -4 tonight with my guy 15.
Yeah, and I'm going to roll with the Chargers on the road here at +4. I mean, I love that it's not like 2.5 or 3. Like, it's 4, and then they lose by a field goal, which is very well what this game could down to, and I'm still going to be a winner here tonight. So I'm going to get on the Chargers, and one of the things you mentioned is kind of what I was leaning towards is my reason here to be on the Chargers because – you know, even if there's going to be some turnovers and things, it's just going to lead to points the other way pretty much right away anyway. Like, I'm going to be really disappointed if this game somehow ends up 21-17. Like, just from an entertainment perspective, I'm locked and loaded. I mean, like, you're right. When I step off the plane in Regina, I wouldn't even be surprised if we're already very close to covering this number. And we'll get to the total in a second. But I'm on the Chargers. Last year, I think they had 3 interceptions against Mahomes last year in the 2 games that they played against him. I already threw 13 picks last year. Like, 3 of them came against the Chargers. Chargers defense last week had 6 sacks, 5 quarterback knockdowns, and 3 interceptions in that game against the Raiders. Like, the Chargers defense, they've made some additions. They're healthier than they were last year. I'm not sitting here today and saying, they're going to shut down Patrick Mahomes and he's going to throw 2 picks and the Chiefs are going to be held to 17 points. But what I am saying, in a game where, we expect teams to be taking shots, I think the Chargers defense can make a play or 2 along the way that should keep them within this 4 points. Do we know the money line? I mean, I know tough to ask the Chiefs guy for a sprinkle on the Chargers here, but I might have a little sprinkle on them to go in and win again back-to-back years in Kansas City.
Yeah. Money line right now is +175 for the Chargers and -192 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
So I do think my favorite play then would still just be Chargers straight up +4. Like, just I'll ride with the Chargers in the total.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a good number, on that. And listen, there's a lot of reasons to think that the Chargers are going to be able to come in and do this. Listen, we've just seen one game from each. I think they did take advantage of a Raider team that has a lot of offensive talent, but not a great offensive line. That's something the Kansas City's really worked on improving. And, that draft pick last year of Creed Humphrey, who's turned into one of the best guys in the middle in the entire league, has been a big and now, of course, you've got all these other options, which we'll get to in some of our props. Did you at all consider the under in this one? I mean, we've had success with the unders so far, but
I was going to ask you. I said, because the over just seems automatic. You're like, it's Mahomes, it's Herbert, it's the Chiefs, Chargers. I was going to ask you, like, what should we be worried about? Like, what are ways the under could hit and kill us here?
Well, I mean, basically picks or turnovers. I mean, long drives where, teams go down and end up, giving the other team a long field without any points on the board. Here's the reason why I like the over even more than normal. And I was having a conversation with a friend this morning. Like, how high would the number have to be to get you to really think about the under between these 2 teams? I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say 85% of the money on this game tonight is going to be on the over. Just almost an auto bet on that. And, we've gone under in both of the primetime games so far, and it's come through for us. I think this is a different story, though. Andy Reid knows that if they're going to beat the Chargers, they're going to need to score and score often. And I guarantee you that Staley on the other side feels the exact same way. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a ton of 4th down going for it on 4th down. And here's an interesting tweak to it, why I sort of like the over even more. Harrison Butker's out for this game. He got injured last week. Now, they signed a kicker to the practice squad, and then they've also got safety Justin Reed, who was unbelievable. I mean, he did a kickoff last year and blasted it through the uprights and has kicked an extra point. He's a real renaissance man of the National Football League. But I think considering the situation and the iffiness of the kicking position, Kansas City's more likely to go for it even more so. And we know that the Chargers will do it. And, the fact that the Chiefs have been so prolific offensively, I think has sort of created teams like LA last year going for it as often as they did, because you don't beat the Kansas City Chiefs kicking field goals. And we've seen that over the last 4 years. So I think both teams are going to be incredibly aggressive offensively. And I think we are going to get a heck of a lot of points. Right now, the total is 54. If you go to Cool Bet, and the over is just about even money at -102. The under is at -106. I got this a little earlier but you can still get it right now, -114 at 53.5. And, that number 50, that half point from 53.5 to 54, seen enough
it's
of
worth
these
it.
big scoring games can often be significant. So maybe take it a little bit safer and get it on the 53.5. But I don't know how high would that total have to be to get you to think, you know what, under's the play.
I was probably going to say 56.5, but I'd probably still take the over. So probably like 57.5. Yeah, 65. Oh, man, I said it on my show this morning. I said, I know what is it? October 16th, Chiefs and Bills should be an amazing game considering what we've seen. But this game has the potential tonight to be the best game of the entire season. I know we're only in week 2, but I do think that this is, when we look back on it, this is a top 10 game this year on the schedule. So very much looking forward to it, which makes it exciting for player props, especially when you're a game where you're expecting a bunch of points to be scored. And this does kind of make sense. I'm on the Chargers +4 points, so I got a couple of Charger player props. I did look ever so briefly at Mahomes throwing a pick tonight, just in case that Chargers defense can get to him. But it's like -132. I was just like, if it was a little bit closer to plus, because I think Herbert's like +100. I thought maybe the Mahomes number might be closer to that, so I'm going to stay away from that. But Hustle, you got Mahomes. I could see you betting over 2.5 touchdowns every game all year until they move that number that you don't like it.
Every game. And as I said, I think we talked about this on Monday's show. I tweeted Pat Gregoire after giving out the 2.5 number on Sunday afternoon before the game. And we saw his fit walking into the stadium. I said, what do we have a number on over 4.5? And sure enough, it came through. No, we don't have that. The number for Mahomes is over 2.5 touchdowns, but it's plus money at +108. And watching every play of that game last week, the level that he's come into the season at is it's vintage Mahomes right now. And I really do think that, a lot of what they've been doing, even in that game, was getting ready for this home opener on a short week against the Chargers. So listen, Chargers have a great defense. It's certainly a lot better. He's going to need to be, he probably will be making plays on the run, but honestly, that's when Patrick Mahomes is at his best, buying a little bit of time, giving his receivers a little bit more of a chance to get open and doing that. So, considering the points that I'm expecting at +108 for that game. And then, there's all sorts of receiving props for this game. And
yes, there is.
You're going to be talking about a guy that I like and we've got in our big sort of bet builder parlay that we put together. But I was really surprised to see Sky Moore at only 9.5 yards for the over. Now it's -119, but that's essentially one catch in this Chiefs offense. He got one last week for 30 yards. And I have a feeling that last week, Andy probably kept many of the plays that involved Sky Moore in his pocket, knowing that they were running away with that game, ready to unleash this young guy against the Chargers this week. So I think he's going to get a few balls. I think that one is almost an automatic. So it's a very small number, but as I said, -119, Sky Moore over 9.5. But to me, this is going to be a lot of what this season's about. Mahomes reestablishing or reminding everyone that he is still the man. So I got the over 2.5 pass touchdowns, and wouldn't be surprised if Sky Moore actually got one of those at some point, but that's not one of the picks for today.
Mike Williams, I've seen this number for Williams as high as like 69.5 in some other places. CoolBet has it right now at 66.5. You'll probably see it a little bit later on today in our Lock Shop play of the day as well. But with Keenan Allen out, like Mike Williams last week, from a fantasy perspective, and of course, if you bet the over on him, is extremely disappointing. He only had 2 catches, 4 targets last week, essentially didn't do anything. No Keenan Allen this week. I love this number because Mike Williams could do this in one play. Mike Williams, I mean, he's a deep threat. He's a guy who Herbert can just throw it up for. Mike Williams will go 60 yards and go up and get it. So he could cover this in one play. But I'm expecting like 8, 9, 10, probably double-digit targets for Mike Williams tonight. And I know they worked in DeAndre Carter last week when Williams went down. Josh Palmer will certainly have to have a better game. I'll talk to him about this in a second. But you mentioned it earlier. I think we mentioned it on a podcast earlier in the week as well. With McDuffie out, I mean, this lines up nicely for Mike Williams tonight to go over. And I was looking into some of his bounce backs after poor games last year, and that's exactly what he did. After bad games last year, Mike Williams came back, and that's just not on Mike Williams. That's Justin Herbert saying like, damn, I didn't have Mike Williams going last game. I got to focus on him a little bit. And tonight, I mean, he might want to do that anyway, coming off a bad week. There's no Keenan Allen. Everything lines up for Mike Williams to have 70, 80, 90, 100 yards in this football game. So love Mike Williams over 66.5 yards. And then without Keenan Allen in the lineup, I'm going to roll with the Canadian Josh Palmer on a touchdown here at plus 200. Last season, in his last 5 games, he had 3 touchdowns over that stretch. Herbert is not afraid to go to Josh Palmer around the end zone, and you can get him at 2-1. I think he's like 9th or 10th in the game for touchdown odds. So I'm going to roll with Palmer here on a TD at plus 200, and Williams over 66.5 receiving yards. Probably wouldn't mind sprinkling the over on yards for Justin Herbert as well. I think it's around like 285 or something like that. But Williams and Palmer will be the two that I'll lock in here today, Huss.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of overs today. And the Mike Williams number, I wouldn't be surprised if that rises throughout the afternoon, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people are realizing the lack of Keenan Allen means there should be a ton of Mike Williams. And if you go back to the last 3 games, and I realize the Chiefs defensive personnel is a little different right now, but he's been targeted a minimum of 7 times and has had, upwards of 9 and 10 in a couple of those games as well, and has had big games and has gotten into the end zone as well. So I certainly do expect that the Chargers are going to be able to score some points, move the football, and Mike Williams will be a big part of that as well, which brings us to our Lock Shop Fireworks Parlay, the Hustler exclusive. Put this together last night. And as I said, I worked it out on the Bet Builder, but then talked to the guys at CoolBet, and let's just say we've got a pretty nice line for this. Starting off, we're not going to hit the spread, but obviously I'm on the Chiefs to win this football game. So Chiefs money line is where we start. Over 53.5 is where we go next. We've just talked about the over. And I think both quarterbacks are going to have big, big games. I'm including the over 2.5 touchdowns. So Patrick Mahomes to throw for 3 or more touchdowns. And we'll also go with the over on Justin Herbert touchdowns at 2 or more. So we've got 3 for Mahomes, 2 for Herbert, over in the game, Chiefs to win, and then a couple of yardage props, a little less than the numbers that we're seeing right now. Mike Williams over 59.5. I think that is a lock. We just talked about the 66. I'm not sure that this is close. And then on the Chiefs side of things, we're putting in MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, for 39.5 yards. And, much like, the Sky Moore number or even the Mike Williams number, that could happen on one play. And the one thing that I think I'm going to predict this trend comes true. We've only had one game, so it'll be difficult to see. But I think Mahomes is at the level that he's going to keep all of his guys happy. And he will make a point where if a guy has a quiet game, I'm going to be on that guy the next game because I think he's able to distribute the football and has enough of a command of this offense to keep all those mouths fed. And in his first game, it was a little quieter for MVS. There was a lot of Travis Kelce. There was Juju. There was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think that he makes himself known tonight. So 39.5 yards for Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the receiving yards. So just to recap, Chiefs to win and over 53.5. Mahomes to throw 3 or more. Herbert to throw 2 or more. And the 2 receiving yardage props, Mike Williams over 59.5 and MVS over 39.5. And that one is just about up to a juicy 10-1 plus 975. I am on it. I came up with it. I was going to bet it anyways. And we got a pretty nice number over at the CoolBet exclusive. So get on over to that if you want to ride in the lock shop for the fireworks parlay, as I like to put it, because I think there's going to be a lot of it tonight.
it's always fun to bet for the over and cheer for the over. It's really fun to bet for Mahomes 3 touchdowns, Herbert 2. Like, they're just, it's gonna make it so much better. Like, you just want, well, like you said, fireworks tonight, man. And I think that's what most of us are expecting. So, really looking forward to this game tonight. Once again, we're trying to follow up a pretty solid start last week. Both of us going 2-0 last week in that Bills victory. So hopefully, it won't be perfect again for both of us this week, as we are going head on this 4-point spread. But really looking forward to this game. We'll be back on Friday morning with our full slate for the upcoming NFL weekend. Then we'll have some more player prop bets for you on Saturday as well. So very busy weekend for week 2 here in the National Football League. Very much looking forward to it, Huss. What are you doing for the game tonight? These are your guys. You going to the old corner there where you take me sometimes.
Yeah. I was just there scouting out the spot the last night, as a matter of fact, doing some mental foreshadowing on the game tonight. We'll get together with the fellas. We'll have it PVR'd, so hopefully I'll be so excited to watch it again when I get home. But there'll be a few cold ones tonight. And hey, this is what it's all about. Primetime games, getting together with your friends, watching it wherever you enjoy good company. And we got 2 of the best teams in the National Football League going head-to-head. As I said, you could have done a pay-per-view package for the AFC West this year, and it would have been well worth the price of admission. And by the way, I believe we in Canada, we just get this game on TSN, right? Whereas everyone in the States has to find it on like Amazon or
it's on Amazon Prime, I believe. Yeah.
So everyone's parents,
that's why we love living in Canada.
Will be saying, "Where's the game? Where is the game?" But it's a hell of a way to kick off week 2. It was a great week to start it off last week, and can't wait to get back into the lock shop tomorrow for our best bets against the spread for week number 2 in the National Football League. And of course, a little recap of everything that happens in this big one tonight.
We will talk to you then.